Hi guys, before we start the video, only 52% of you are actually subscribed to the channel, so if you're new, hit the subscribe button and enjoy the video.
Welcome to episode 2 of the S&S Football Podcast. We're back with myself and Braden. Braden, do you want to say hello?
Hello, how you all doing?
We'd just like to thank everyone for the response on the first video. Fantastic interaction, so we do really appreciate that. Today's a bit of a different episode. Obviously, we've only done one so far, but the first episode we reviewed all the Premier League games. This week, because there is no Premier League games, we are going to speak about the international football, speak about England specifically and their current 2 matches that they've already played, as well as preview the third game against Iceland. We're also going to cover our all-time England 11 and current England 11s, which I'm sure will be very hotly contested between the both of us. And then the Premier League does, however, though, return this weekend. So we are going to give a little preview to every single Premier League game at the end of the episode. And we're going to give our thoughts and predictions on the upcoming weekend of fixtures. So to start off with, Braden, I believe on Thursday night, England faced the Republic of Ireland in a friendly. England coming out 3-0 winners. What are your thoughts?
Well, I thought firstly, Ireland were terrible, to be honest. I thought England played really well still, but Ireland were shocking. They just weren't. They just didn't mount anything in attack. I think defensively they were quite poor as well. So yeah, it was on paper. I thought this could be a good game. You know, every time we play, you know, either Scotland, Ireland, Northern Ireland, Wales, it's always a difficult game because it's, you know, a home nation. But I thought Ireland really didn't offer anything, and you know, I thought England had it quite easy. And you know, I think certain players had really good games. I think Maguire especially. He scored a great header. I know defensively he didn't have much to do, but he did clean up what he had to do. And, you know, he found some fantastic diagonal passes and playing out from the back. So I thought he had a great game. I thought Grealish, again, was fantastic. And we'll talk more about him as well. I thought Sancho had a good game. Excellent game for him. Got a goal as well. And Calvert-Lewin got a goal, but also, you know, it was different to see someone else other than Kane up there. And I thought he did a fantastic job as well. And like I said, you can't take anything away from England's performance, because I thought, you know, it was 3-0, but it probably could have been, you know, 4 or 5 maybe. But I just think Ireland were shocking, absolutely shocking. And
yeah,
I'd be really worried for them, especially. You know, I don't think they can qualify for the Euro, so they're not going to that. But you know, in terms of moving forward, I don't know where their next steps for them are. It's a real sticky one for them. But you know, a good solid performance by England, but Ireland went up to scratch.
Yeah, I think it was a simple case of England doing the job. You know, fair play to Ireland for taking the friendly, playing an England side that, let's be real here, are masses above them in quality. I thought Ireland defensively have some good players, but attacking wise, they just look so short. And it's a real shame. I mean, to have, I think it's Adam Idah, who plays for Norwich City, to lead the line, and I think he's only 19, 20 years old. It really does show a lack of depth for Ireland. So I wouldn't be as concerned for them at the moment, because it doesn't look like they're going to the Euros. So they've got time to obviously bring through some attacking talent. They're going to need to, because it was a really poor performance for them. But if we're focusing on England, a routine performance, a really comprehensive victory, in my opinion. I think Saka really impressed me. He just looks so mature on the ball. Fantastic for a player as young as him. I fully believe why Arsenal fans sort of have the Saka hype, and you know, he's a great player, really mature on the ball as well. Just brilliant. And I thought Grealish and Sancho linked up fantastically. And when you know, I really liked the way that England approached the game. You know, it wasn't a boring game. We went out to score goals and we went out to attack them. And I thought Grealish and Sancho really understood each other's games and linked up really nicely, and almost 2 free rolls, which was really interesting to see from Southgate. I think he set up 4-3-4-2-1 in the end, which is the same as what he set up against Belgium. So, yeah, look, a routine win for England. Not really much we can say about it. I mean, great penalty from Calvert-Lewin. Sancho with a great finish. I believe Grealish got the assist for that one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, look, fantastic victory. Maguire as well getting on the score sheet, I think will do his confidence the world of good. But obviously, as we're going to move on to now, didn't really mean a lot because we didn't take that performance into a dire Sunday night showing in Belgium.
Yeah, I think you summed up perfectly. It was shocking. It was absolutely shocking. I think what was interesting is in terms of the Ireland game, he played Mount as a centre mid, and I'm not always Mount's biggest fan, especially when you got players like Grealish and Sancho, and obviously Rashford and Sterling when they're fully fit. But I have to say Mount played really well against Ireland in the central midfield. I can't remember who he played alongside who was doing the sit-in role. I think it was Henderson. It might have been Jordan Henderson. But Mount played fantastically in the middle. But obviously against Belgium, he played out on the right. And it's just nothing seemed to work in terms of having Grealish and Mount there, I think, and Kane as well. I think like they were saying, there's obviously good technical ability there, but there's no ability to run in behind and stretch the defence there with a lot of pace. And I think if you're going to play Grealish or Mount, and in my opinion, Grealish, if you're going to start one of them, Grealish is going to start on the wing. You have to have a Sancho, which he had, or a Rashford or a Sterling. I know them two were injured, but you still have a Sancho on the bench, which you could start in. And I think you've got to start one of them to offer something in behind. And I think in general, how Sancho isn't starting for England is still beyond me a little bit. The numbers he put up last season for Dortmund, and I know he's had a slow start this season, but the quality of him is undoubtable. So it just didn't seem to work in terms of runners in behind. Obviously, we went 1-0 down where, I said this to you, but in my opinion, England heavily missed Harry Maguire in that game. And everyone could say, oh, well, he can't defend, he's a fridge freeze or whatever. But if you look at Maguire's game, he's very good at ball playing and bringing the ball out and playing forward passes. You watch Dyer play that pass to, I think he was aiming it at Mount. There was no way he was going to get that. And then you give the ball away, it comes to De Bruyne, and then think to Lukaku. Lukaku lays it off to Tielemans. And it's a good shot, but it took a couple of deflections, Pickford got a hand to it, and it just hit the post and goes in. But like I said, it all stemmed from a routine mistake from England. But then we move on to the second goal, the free kick. I was watching that, I was absolutely fuming that this goal happened, because firstly, it's never a free kick. It's never ever a free kick in.
I agree.
It's just not. I mean, Declan Rice gets so much of the ball. He's poked the ball away, and then De Bruyne kicks in and goes down injured. So if there's anything, it's a free kick for England, because De Bruyne has kicked Rice, and Rice should have gone down, in a heap. But De Bruyne goes down squealing, don't know what for. Gets the free kick, and Mertens, you can't say it wasn't a good free kick. It was a fantastic free kick. I don't think many keepers would have saved that. You can't blame Pickford at all. So it just annoyed me, the fact that the foul got given, and they made use of it and they scored. It was just a bit frustrating in that aspect. But in terms of England's performance, yes, there was a spell where we could have scored and maybe should have scored. I know Lukaku had one off the line, Grealish had a shot blocked, and we had some other chances. But especially in that second half, you're 2-0 down. You've got to really go for it. I know Henderson come off with an injury, and he brought Winks on. I thought Winks was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Like he was against Ireland. Oh, that's it. Winks played against Ireland. It wasn't Henderson.
Yeah.
And I thought he was fantastic in that game. And he was against Belgium when he come on. But I was also expecting a Sancho to come on for Mount, or maybe a Calvert-Lewin, and maybe go two up front. Like maybe a 3-5-2 or something like that. And there wasn't. And I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, you're 2 goals down here. You need to draw possibly, or win this game if you want a chance of qualifying for obviously the finals. And it just, again, just fell into insignificance. It just played out, and they held on to the 2-0 win. I don't think we created much in terms of the second half, and that was it. And obviously we can't qualify now for the Final Four, which is a shame because we've seen, what it was like when we got in there last year. And Southgate can't play this out off and say, oh, we're not interested in the Nations League, because last year when we played it, he was very much in it to win it. And I think, in terms of the Nation League, I know there's different opinions, but if I was a coach, and the way I'm looking at it now is I'd be in it to win it. It's a trophy. People regard it highly, especially because I think a lot of people are like, well, it's not the Euros, it's not the World Cup, so who cares? But people are regarding it highly. And look, it's a great way to play against big teams and, come out with a trophy, have a little mini tournament, and come away with a win. You've only got to play, I think, 2 games in the Final Four. So, yeah, it was a disappointing performance, especially after the Ireland game, but we got to move on now. We got Iceland obviously in the Nations League coming up soon, which is, it doesn't mean anything. So, I think, you can take what you will from that. But yeah, no, what was your opinion on the Belgium game?
I think it was a disappointing game from England. Belgium is such a difficult game to analyse because from England's point of view, I mean, what did we really do? It was a comfortable 2-0 win from Belgium, and Belgium, look, they matched us formation-wise. They played the 3-4-2-1 like we did, but they just nullified any threat that we had. They've got an experienced back three of Alderweireld, Vertonghen and Denier, playing Harry Kane up front and then having Grealish and Mount either side of him just didn't really work. There was just not enough pace there. And look, Belgium played a high line and pressed us. Roberto Martinez knew all 3 of them attacking players and he knew there was no pace in it. So he knew that they were never going to get beat with balls in behind because England weren't going to play that. So as far as Belgium were concerned, all the play was actually in front of them, which just benefited them so much. And I felt it was a really comfortable performance from Belgium. They didn't really have to do a lot to beat us. It just looked like they weren't really breaking that much of a sweat, to stop us from scoring. I mean, yeah, the 2 goals were disappointing. The debatable free kick that was never a free kick. Obviously, Kevin De Bruyne's kicked Declan Rice. It was just a case of De Bruyne, I guess, milking it in a way. But look, fouls like that get given. I guess the referee must have been blindsided by the view that he had, and he's given the decision. The thing that's inexcusable is Tyrone Mings and Harry Kane not jumping in the wall. Why they didn't jump, I don't know. If they'd have jumped, it wouldn't have gone in. First goal was obviously really unlucky, deflected, but a good strike from Tielemans. Pickford couldn't really do a lot. But if we're talking about positives, because we have to back Gareth Southgate, he's going to be there for the next Euros, and there's no contesting that. We've got to back him. We can't afford to be negative and hammer him about things because he's going to be in the job either way. So we've just got to support him. And look, I think he's trying to find his best system. I think he's trying to find what personnel can play in that system. And look, we've just got to trust the process, as much as I'm not a Southgate fan, we've got to believe that he's trying things for the Euros. Obviously, it's unforgivable not getting through in the Nations League. We're England, we should be getting out of that group quite easily. But fair play to Belgium and Denmark, obviously deserve to go through because I don't think England played well in the Nations League games. But yeah, if we're talking about England-Belgium, England made 579 passes throughout the game, which was 99 passes more than Belgium. Yeah. We made, I think, around 481. And we did nothing with it. We did absolutely nothing with the ball. We had more possession than Belgium. We were trying to attack in the second half, and we got absolutely nowhere. And that's sort of the worrying part, is that we have got such attacking players with such creativity on that pitch that started that game, and we created next to nothing. Like, Courtois was barely troubled throughout the game, apart from a few okay chances in the first half. I mean, we were so wasteful with set pieces. Mason Mount smashing a free kick over from 20 yards, miles over the crossbar. Trippier hitting the wall.
It was the same distance Mertens scored from, the Mount one. Yeah. And he put it over. And then, it cut to Southgate. He's clapping it. And I'm thinking, oh, my word.
it's just disappointing. I think at the end of the day, look, Belgium are a great side. We can't take anything away from that. I was really impressed with Saka. I thought Harry Winks, when he came on, changed the game for England. Although we didn't do anything, he was making them penetrating passes forward, and he moved the ball a lot quicker, which I liked. Declan Rice for me, he's too slow on the ball. So having Winks just moving that ball 10 times quicker encouraged Rice to do the same as well. And I mean, if we're talking about standout players, I mean, our lad Jack Grealish just stole the show. It was so brilliant to see on Twitter everyone just say how much of he just is world class. And I think it's about time that people put this lad into a conversation about being one of the best players in the Premier League. This guy has single-handedly, in my opinion, made Belgium look silly, regardless of the scoreline. The flick that he did on Meunier, I mean, if Ronaldo or Messi are doing flicks like that, we're talking about them for years. So, he was against the midfield of De Bruyne, Mertens, Witsel, an experienced midfield, and he was running them ragged. They could not get near him, and the only way that they could get near him was fouling him.
Yeah.
And he is a phenomenal player, and he's right at the top of his game right now, and he is just a joy to watch. And look, I do think people comparing him to Gaza at the moment is a little bit far, but we now know that this lad has the talent to not only compete on the international level, but play against the best side in the world, and he made them look stupid. So, look, I think he was fantastic. I think he was the only player that showed any form of passion and fight from England in that game, especially. And he wore the badge with pride, and Southgate almost has to have him in the team now. If he isn't in the team, I think it will cause an absolute outrage on social media. So, yeah, look, England, a bit of disappointing performance, but look, we've got to trust the process. We did have players out, but that's not an excuse. That team should be giving Belgium more problems. But, yeah, we move on to a pretty pointless game against Iceland now.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much more to say. I expect lots and lots of changes. I expect probably, Dean Henderson to probably start. I know he'd come on against Ireland, but I think he wasn't really troubled. He may have had one shot to save. So I definitely expect him to start. I think if you're looking at, a few of the fringe players like Maitland-Niles, he'll probably start. If you're looking at, just trying to think, Calvert-Lewin's definitely going to start in my opinion. Sancho will probably start because he hasn't started. He didn't start against Belgium, so he'll probably start against Iceland. And it's just a shame that we're going in as England. We're going into the last game of a relatively big sort of tournament. We're going to the last game and we can't even qualify for the final four. And all we had in our group was Denmark and Iceland and Belgium. Last year we beat Croatia, who obviously got to the World Cup final. I think we had Spain in our group. They were the only two teams, and we got out of that. So it's just poor, really. It's like, we're going into this last game. There's nothing to play for. It's Iceland, and even when we played Iceland in the first game, like you said, this Nations League, I think we've been quite poor because especially against Iceland, we were terrible. Walker gave a penalty away. We all know his defensive capabilities or lack of defensive capabilities. They missed it. Sterling went up the other end and we got a pen and he scored that. But we have been poor this Nations League, and like I said, we're going to the last game. We can't even qualify, and it's just poor. It's so bad, and we may not even finish second as well. I think if Denmark beat Belgium, or if they possibly get a draw or something, they may finish second. But like I was saying to you the other day, I was looking at the table. We've only scored 3 goals in 5 games in the Nations League. We've conceded 4. We got a goal difference of -1. That is terrible. That is absolutely terrible. Denmark got a goal difference of 3. Belgium have got a goal difference of 8. So we've conceded the same amount as Belgium, which is good defensively, but attackingly, we've scored a quarter of their goals, and Denmark scored double our goals. And we've got arguably one of the best strikers in the world, Harry Kane. It's just, I don't get it. We scored the same amount of goals as Iceland. and they're bottom on
Yeah,
0. They've got a goal difference of -10,
I
and
think
we're England. How are we not going into this game with something to play for? It's beyond me. It really is.
with the Nations League being staggered and a lot of the games being sort of so far away from one another, I think everyone's forgot how poor we've actually been in the Nations League. You know, we've struggled in so many games, but I think because of the nature of the Nations League, everyone looks at the group and thinks, like, oh my God, have England actually done that bad? We've actually been that bad in games. And then obviously you flick through and, you know, you have to go from international break to international break. So I don't agree with how staggered the games are, to be honest. You know, it's quite annoying how the Nations League has gone on for as long as it has, but it can't excuse just the awfully poor performances that England have put in over it. You know, drawing to Denmark, the dire 0-0 draw, where he only gave Grealish 15 minutes. Obviously, just about beating Iceland, just about beating Belgium. Our only 3 goals of the Nations League was the 2-1 win against Belgium, where we got 2, and the goal that we scored at Iceland in the latter stages, the penalty that Sterling took. So, look, when you consider who we've got in the group, the thing that concerns me is that, you know, if we are struggling against sides like Denmark and Iceland before we go to the Euros, God knows what we're going to be like when we go there. So, look, at the end of the day, we just have to be positive with England. It's a blip. We're going through a tough stage at the moment as a nation. A lot of people don't agree with Gareth Southgate being in charge, but look, we've got to trust that he's going to at least perform to a certain extent in the Euros. But if he doesn't perform in the Euros, for me, he's gone. I think there's better out there. For me, he won't get a job in the Championship. So, look, I think to have a talented generation of England players like he has at his disposal and not be able to get the best out of them, I think is what people are starting to realise is he's probably not the man for the job. But like I said, moving on to this Iceland game, just a pretty pointless game, to be honest. I'd like to see Connor Cody play. I'd like to see Tammy Abraham get some minutes as well, because he hasn't played in the international break so far. Obviously, I'd love to see Dean Henderson get his full debut in goal as well, and his first start. So, look, I think England-Iceland, again, it's another game for Southgate to try something new. You know, is it the 4 at the back? Is it the 3 at the back that works for England? This is the thing. When he keeps changing the formation and the personnel so much, I think he almost confuses the players. So he needs to be quite stern on a formation. Like, he needs to choose whether it's a 3 or a 4 at the back that England are better with. Because, I mean, for me, on the evidence of the games so far, you know, we played for was it 4 at the back against Belgium? Sorry, not 3.
No, I think it was definitely a 3 because you had Walker as a right centre half.
Yeah, of course, we had Carl Walker right centre back. So yeah, we did play with the 3, but you know, yeah, I just think highlighting as well some of the players that you picked out. I think Eric Dyer had a terrible game. I don't like cussing out players, but I don't think he's good enough for England anymore. And I think he almost confuses himself. You know, is he a holding midfielder anymore? Is he a centre half? Personally, I don't think he's good enough on the ball to be a centre half. So some of his passes were just ridiculously poor. You know, he gave away the ball, obviously, for the first goal. There was another time where he tried doing the same thing 20 minutes later and then nearly scored from that. So I don't think Dyer's good enough to play for England, and I don't really want to see him anywhere near that squad again.
It's funny because I remember before the 2018 World Cup, me and my dad, we did like a what would be your starting 11 for England going into the tournament, and I actually picked Dyer over Henderson. You know, started like that holding midfielder role, and to see where Henderson's got on to, as much as you know some people slate him, he's good at what he does. But to see the heights he's gone on to and where Dyer's fallen to, it's incredible. And that's only, 2 years ago? Just over 2 years. But like I said,
to see the demise of Eric Dyer is a shame because he come onto the scene as a youngster, very similar to Dele Alli. Both of them come on the scene at the same time, and you look at them both now, and for me, Dyer shouldn't be anywhere near that England squad. If we're talking about centre halves, you've got, and look, this is not me being biased towards Villa at all, and people will probably say that I am, but for me, Ezri Konsa deserves more of an opportunity to be in that England squad and has done more this season to warrant a place than Eric Dyer. The reason why Ezri Konsa doesn't get in is because he plays for Aston Villa. That's the God honest truth. If Eric Dyer didn't play for Tottenham, he would be nowhere near that squad. And that's what, for me, disappoints me about Gareth Southgate. You've got players like Matty Cash, Aaron Creswell, Ezri Konsa that have been phenomenal this season, and stats, they're top of everything. And I know stats can be misleading, but Gareth's got to look at these players. And what frustrates me is that squad that he picked is likely going to be the mould for the next squad in March, which is going to be the of what we've got going into the Euros, which is a shame because there are so many players, I feel, this year that are going to have really good seasons, like Jarrod Bowen, Mikel Antonio, that just aren't going to get a sniff near that England side, and I think they deserve a chance. And I think it's actually very similar to Roy Hodgson, where when we went into the World Cup, I think it was 2016 in Russia or the Euros, he didn't take a single winger. He didn't take a single winger in the entire squad. He had no plan B whatsoever. And I feel like with Southgate, he might be similar. He might just be a one-trick pony and just take a system and not have a backup and not have these players like Jarrod Bowen and Mikel Antonio that have had great seasons. Because I remember he didn't include Mark Noble, who had a fantastic season for West Ham, topped the stats. And then Jack Wilshere got in, who played 60 minutes throughout the season.
It was Drinkwater as well. He took Vardy, but he didn't take Drinkwater. He was feeding him the goals at Leicester. And I think with the wingers thing, I think he took. Well, would we have called Rashford a winger when he first burst onto the scene?
Not really. He was a striker.
He was a striker, but in that Iceland game, he come on, and I think you have the stat where he completed more take-ons in about 3 minutes, and the whole team did in 90, and it was ridiculous.
Mental, wasn't it?
I know he was only 18.
It's mental because Southgate, for me, is underqualified for the job, and I think it proves it. Like I said, he's got the most talented generation of England players, and look, it's not one performance. I think I saw some people on Twitter saying that people are overreacting. It's one loss against the best side in the world. No, but the Iceland game was dreadful. The Denmark game was dreadful. The first time that we played Belgium was dreadful. We fluked the win, if I'm being honest. We were very lucky to win that game. So it's just a lot of performances. And I think the Jack Grealish thing has really, really got under a lot of people's skin as well. I don't know whether I was the only person to feel like this, but especially in the Republic of Ireland game, I felt like he just took him off as soon as he could. First substitution, he just brings him off straight away. And he's been one of the best players on the pitch, which made absolutely no sense. I don't know, though, whether you can make an argument for, look, he played the full 90 against Belgium. So Southgate wanted to rest him for 30 minutes.
That's what I would have said. I would have said that he's taken him off because I think we would have been, 2-0 up maybe at that point. I think we were 2 or 3 up. The game was done. If he's obviously started him against Belgium because he played well, so we'll take him off now because obviously he doesn't want to risk him getting injured. That's what my opinion would be. I don't think he dragged him. I just think he was resting him because the game was done. The game was done. So I think just resting him for the Belgian game. So he had half an hour of the game off really, and then he could get ready for Belgium.
But I mean, going into this Iceland game, I'd just like to see the fringe players have a go in an England shirt, like your Tammy Abrahams and stuff. Because for me, I don't think Tammy Abraham's going to get in the next England squad. Because I think when Danny Ings is back fit, and there are strikers this season that are just doing better than Tammy, like Che Adams and Mikel Antonio when Mikel Antonio gets back fit. So I'd like to see some of them players that have not played yet get
we've got Rashford. We've got Rashford to come back in as well.
Yeah, like Rashford. Michael Keane as well, I think deserves a game as well. So look, I think as long as there's a bit of rotation, but there is still a bit of quality in there, because what we don't want is to lose this game against Iceland, because then serious red flags are going to be raised about Gareth Southgate and his position. So I think, look, I think he needs to get the perfect balance of players that haven't had game time yet, but also you do need that little bit of quality in there that's going to beat a team like Iceland, because I think we fielded almost a full strength team against Iceland over there, and we nearly lost the game. We shouldn't have won the game. So look, Iceland are not a team to discount. You know, they've probably given us our worst major defeat in recent history. So they're obviously going to have confidence that they're going to come and try and give England a game. And watching the performance against Belgium, they're going to be even more confident that they can get something. But obviously, Iceland were the architects to our downfall. They conceded a 92nd minute penalty to Denmark, who scored, which meant that we couldn't go to the Nations League final. So, look, I don't know what Iceland to expect. I don't know whether they're going to be really down from the performance because they played so well against Denmark and threw it away at the end, or with it being sort of a one-off game where nothing matters, they're just going to go for it and catch England off guard. So
I think they've got a chance to cause an upset here again, really, because it's not a friendly. This is an established competition. They beat us again. That's another upset in my opinion, because it's the Nations League. It's not exactly a friendly, like I mentioned. There's something to play for here, and England should be going out to win. So if Iceland do beat us again, it wouldn't be on par with the Euros, because the Euros is obviously the knockout tournament, but it's still up there with another huge upset, and you can't just write it off and say, oh, it was a friendly, never mind. No, this is still technically a Nations League game, and you've got to go out there to win it. It doesn't matter who plays for England. Even if you play the likes of Tammy Abraham, Dean Henderson, Maitland-Niles, then players on paper are still better than Iceland's team.
Yeah.
So even if we lose, it'll be terrible. And I hate to think what would happen if we did lose. I think he can't lose that game now. I mean, on my word, it'd be a travesty.
No. Well, look, obviously we've covered the international matches for England. So we're now going to move on to our current and all-time English 11s. Now, this is going to be incredibly interesting. So, Braden, we're going to start off with a formation.
Yes. Which one are we doing first? Are we doing current or all-time? Do you want to do current or all-time first?
We're going to do current first, because we've just spoke about obviously the current national team and the current games. So current English 11.
So for me, it was a tough one in terms of formation, because I think we've got obviously the personnel to play any formation, and we've shown that. But for me, I've gone with a 3-4-3 as my formation. Would you like me to rattle through it and tell you my team? So in goal,
yeah, mate, go for it.
In goal, we have got Dean Henderson. In my opinion, he is England's best goalkeeper. Apart from, I know Pope pushes him, but I still think Henderson just tips him in terms of, especially if you look at last season and where Sheffield United are now. I think he borderline kept them up really. So Dean Henderson starts in goal for me. I definitely think he's better than Pickford. I know Pickford hasn't made very few mistakes in terms of England, in terms of the last couple of games, but I still pick Henderson over him. Back three is a few big names, and then one outsider who I think should possibly not be starting for England, but in this system, I think he should be starting. If we play four at the back, you could argue possibly someone else should be starting. But the back three for me is Joe Gomez, Harry Maguire, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. That is my back three for England. People are going to go, why is Wan-Bissaka in there? I just think how he hasn't been called up to England now is unbelievable. I know you could argue that he hasn't started this season well, but even if you're looking at last season, I thought he was incredible. When you could argue that, him, Trent, and probably James should all have been called up last season. Trent and James Wan-Bissaka wasn't. I'm happy that he hasn't pledged his alliance to Congo. He hinted at it, but he said he's going to stay English and try and earn his place. And I think he deserves a call up. And, you know, if we're looking at Kyle Walker playing in that right centre half role yesterday, I know your job is to obviously be playing passes forward and stuff, but your job is also to defend. And, you know, we've got many people saying he's the best defensive player in the world at the minute, 1v1 especially. So, you know, for me, he's got to start, especially if we're playing three at the back. And if you're going to play a right back, then, you know, he's starting for me in that right centre half role. So I've got Hendo, Gomez, Maguire, and Wan-Bissaka as sort of my back four at the minute. Left wing back, I've got Ben Chilwell. I think Saka pushes in close, but for me, I just prefer Ben Chilwell. I think he's had a great start to the season with Chelsea, and he's been looking good. Then I've gone for Trent, right wing back. I think giving him that license to go forward. Questions about his defensive capabilities. So let Wan-Bissaka sort of clean that up. Trent can worry about, you know, putting crosses in the box and going forward really. Then my midfield two is Jordan Henderson. As I mentioned earlier, you know, about the Dyer and Hendo situation. I think Henderson, you know, doing excellent at what he does at Liverpool, and the same for England. And then your man is in the squad. Jack Grealish starts alongside him in centre of midfield. So another bit of attacking outlet there. Like I said, been fantastic since the Premier League started again this season. For England, fantastic. And then obviously last season was magnificent for you, keeping you up as well. Then my front three, Kane starts. He's the captain. He's going to start up front. You know, you could argue Calvert-Lewin, but I just think Kane's got to start for me. Kane always starts, and I think he is going to bag you goals. It's just giving him the service. And then the two wingers aside of him, you could really flip a coin between. You could pick two of three maybe, but the two I've gone for is Sterling and Rashford. But yet again, Sancho could easily start between either of them two, and you know it wouldn't faze me. So just go through my team again. It's Dean Henderson in goal. Left centre back Joe Gomez, in the middle Harry Maguire, and right centre back Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Right wing back is Trent Alexander-Arnold. Centre mid is Jordan Henderson and Jack Grealish. Left wing back is Ben Chilwell. Left wing is Marcus Rashford, Dr. Marcus Rashford MBE. Striker is Harry Kane, and right wing is Raheem Sterling. And that team is winning the Euros.
So, yeah, an interesting team there. A few interesting selections. However, I think this is a great dynamic because I've actually gone with a completely different formation. So
4-3-4.
I've actually gone with the four at the back. I think this whole three at the back thing for England, look, I don't think we've played long enough with it. And I don't think England are suited to it. I'm going to be honest. I think we have an opportunity to play a certain way and a certain formation that can be a lot more effective. And for me, that's the 4-2-3-1. Now, my goalkeeper in this team is Dean Henderson, same as yours. For me, Pickford and Pope have had poor seasons so far. The England goalkeeper position is a bit of a tough one at the moment because obviously Southgate seems to have some loyalty to Pickford. I don't think he wants to kill his confidence because he still believes that there's a player there. But for me, Pickford's not good enough. And Nick Pope just hasn't had the start to the season, which is testament to Burnley doing horrifically bad at the start of this year. Then my back four, which I think is going to cause a little bit of a debate, but I'm happy for it. I've missed out a lot of big players here because I'm going off pure form this year, and who I think is, at the moment, the best English four players in the back four, and a lot of them aren't even in the squad, which is the most frustrating thing. But I've gone with Reece James at right back. I think he picks himself. I think he's been phenomenal for Chelsea. And he's similar to Saka in a player that is so mature for his age. I think he's an excellent right back. And for me, Kyle Walker and Trent haven't been good enough this year. The defending has been nigh enough shocking from both of them, especially Trent. I don't think he deserves to get an England start. I'm going to be honest. You know, yeah, he's got the ability, and so has Kyle Walker. But if we're talking about a right back that has performed consistently this year, and if we're basing a criteria off people who deserve an England start, for me, Reece James picks himself. Left back, it was tough between Saka and Chilwell. I think if I'd have gone for a back three, I'd have gone with Saka because I think he's a better left wing back than a left back. But I've gone with Ben Chilwell. Again, fantastic for Chelsea this season. Bit of a shame that he got injured. Hopefully that's nothing too serious. My centre defence, my centre backs, I've gone with Connor Cody and Tyrone Mings. Now, for me, Connor Cody is the most underrated centre-back, along with Ezri Konsa in the Premier League. Connor Cody is so good at what he does. He just defends. He doesn't do anything stupid. He's good on the ball. And what I don't think people realise as well is I think people need to watch Wolves. His passing range and passing out from the back is phenomenal. And people say that Harry Maguire is a great ball-playing centre-half. But if you want someone that is reliable and a ball-playing centre-half, for me, Connor Cody has to go in this team. And I don't get what the deal is with Southgate, but I thought the 2 games that he started for England, I think we kept clean sheets in both. So, you know, he hasn't made any errors, in my opinion. You know, look, he's a consistent defender. Name me an occasion where Connor Cody has made a mistake that leads to a goal. You can't. He's just such a consistent defender. And Tyrone Mings, you know, he's just been brilliant this season so far. Maybe a bit of an unpopular opinion, but I actually think Ezri Konsa has probably been better than Mings this year, which says a lot. But for me, Mings, out of the rest of them centre-halves, has been absolutely phenomenal for Villa. And that just shows how good Ezri Konsa has been. But yeah, that's my back 4. No Maguire, no Trent, no Walker, no Wan-Bissaka. For me, these players just haven't performed on a club level. And for me, I think
Wan-Bissaka has been relatively consistent because you know what you're going to get with him. You know that, you know, going forward, yes, he's not always the best, but defensively, you know that you're not beating him. And you know, if you're looking at Trent and Walker, I think he's probably been above them in form this season. You know, Walker especially and Trent. I mean, we only have to look at FPL to look at Trent and see that he hasn't really returned this season. So. I think you can't call Wan-Bissaka a big name. He hasn't even had a call up yet. But I think if he can get one while Trent and Walker are playing horrendously, then I don't know when he's going to get one really. But I'll let you go on to your midfield.
So now I remember watching the post-match coverage of England v Belgium, and I think it was Ian Wright and oh God, who was he with? It was Ian Wright, and I think it was Ian Wright that said it, and Roy Keane. And Ian Wright said that the best players don't need to fit in a particular system. You don't need to build a system around them. They will work in the system. And they were talking about Jack Grealish, and look, Grealish plays so well for Villa. Not only because he is a fantastic footballer, but he plays on the left-hand side in a system. But for me, Jack Grealish, if you put him in a 10 role, in a free role, I think he would be immense. So my midfield 3, I've got Winks and Henderson sitting as part of the 2. And Jack Grealish as a number 10 in a midfield triangle. I think Winks, like I said, really impressive against Belgium when he come on. I think, look, he's better than Declan Rice, in my opinion, and he offers something a little bit different. Obviously, Hendo gives you that sort of security at the back. So I think that midfield 3 would work. I've got Rashford on the right-hand side, not the left. I've got Jadon Sancho on the left-hand side, and I've got Harry Kane up front. I feel as though Grealish and Kane showed signs in the Belgium game of really starting to know each other's performance and linking up really, really nicely. And the same with Sancho. And I think if you can get Grealish working with Rashford as well, I think that could be such a lethal four. I think just giving Grealish a free role in the 10. The reason why I wouldn't have Grealish as sort of a centre midfielder like he is in yours is because Grealish, for me, even though he can do that role, he can track back. I don't want him doing that.
That's why Henderson's there. That's why Henderson's there. Henderson does the doggy work, and then Grealish is free.
Grealish needs to be part of a free midfield. You can't have Grealish in a 2 in midfield, in my opinion. You know what I mean? You've got to have something there. You've got to have at least 2 players there to give him the freedom to just do whatever he wants at the attacking end of the pitch. And that's why I think he's so effective. And Villa find it so effective. You know, I find it similar with Ross Barkley. Ross Barkley, almost the Jack Grealish role. You know, Barkley does what I want Grealish to do for England, and that's get on the end of attacks and be really involved in attacks. So, yeah, for me, Grealish needs to play in the 10. But this system that I've got, I will admit, does play around Jack Grealish because, look, you need to play to your players' best strengths. As much as I thought it was an interesting point that the pundits made after the game. Look, when you've got a player as talented as Grealish, you've got to play a system that gets the best out of him, gets the best out of players like Harry Kane, Rashford. So, yeah, that current England 11. Yeah, there are a few fringe players like Saka, Dominic Calvert-Lewin that quite easily get into that side. But yeah, apart from that, that is my England 11.
Yeah, I think the thing I'll say for my team as well is I think Reece James comes close to it, whether that's as a right centre back, a right wing back, or even a defensive midfielder. I think he could play in any of them. So you know, he was definitely one I thought of. And then you obviously starting Sancho, me sticking with Sterling for the minute. I think he's had an okay start to the season. I'd still back him a little bit, but like I said, that's our 2 teams. There'll be pictures going up of them, hopefully, as we've been saying them. So, you know, leave in the comments which team is probably best or which team could win the Euros, and any changes you would make, and list your teams in the comments below, definitely, and see if you can come up with something creative for England to win the Euros. But now I guess we're going to move on to our all-time 11s, our all-time England 11. So I'll let you go first on this one, seeing as I went first on the last one, and give us your formation, and then start us from goalkeeper to striker.
So I feel like with the England all-time 11, I think that the justifications for these are important, but I feel as though going into too much detail on them is just irrelevant, because a lot of these players that are in my team are either before my time or sort of early childhood. And it's very difficult when picking an England all-time 11 because, look, someone that was born 30 years ago is going to have a very different team to someone like me who was born 18 years ago. So, look, whoever I've chosen here is purely based on people that I've idolised, and I've tried to pick who come to my head first for each position, because I think that's the fairest way to do it, because I try to remember as best as it gets really for England in terms of each position. So for me in goal, I've gone with the most capped England player in Peter Shilton. His save against Brazil, arguably the best that one of the best that we've ever seen. That was Gordon Banks, but Shilton, look, fantastic goalkeeper. He's obviously been the most capped by England. I know you're pointing to Plymouth Argyle there for Shilton, but look, most capped player. Gordon Banks came close. Apologies about getting them mixed up, but yeah, Banks come close. That save against Brazil and Pele is probably the best save to have ever been made. Just yeah, ridiculous. My back four, two players in my back, two players in my back four, sorry, that are up there in terms of caps. So I've got Gary Neville at right back, just a solid defender, fantastic for Man United in England. I've gone with Ashley Cole at left back, arguably one of the best left backs, to grace the planet for me. His performance against Ronaldo that one game was just, I mean, it sticks with me for years to come. It was just a tremendous performance, and for England as well, even though he was part of the Steve McLaren side that obviously failed to reach the major competition. But no, look, Ashley Cole, fantastic defender, 107 caps as well. So again, a highly capped player. Centre-back partnership, I've gone with Bobby Moore with 108 caps and Rio Ferdinand. Two very, very quality centre-backs, Rolls-Royce defenders. Just really strong physical players. Fantastic. It's very difficult now because I've gone with the 4-4-2. And my midfield four, I've gone with Beckham on the right, with 115 caps. Again, I think he's the third or fourth all-time most capped player. No one can have an all-time England 11 without Beckham in it, surely. I've gone with Gascoigne. I've gone with Gascoigne on the left-hand side. Gaza just, obviously, I don't want to link him to Jack Grealish at all, but he just produced magic. He was one of the only players who you just didn't know what he was going to do. And obviously Gaza was before my time, but just watching videos of him, I sort of idolised him as a kid.
Can I ask you, does Jack Grealish get this all-time England 11?
He doesn't. So yeah. No, but in years to come, I'm sure. So centre mids, I've gone with two. There could be easily three in here. And look, I had to ask someone, and I think Chelsea fans need to look away now because I've gone with Scholes and Gerrard. For me, look, Frank Lampard, and I know this is going to cause a stir, but for me, Frank Lampard didn't perform for England. Look, I don't think he was anywhere near as good for England as he was for Chelsea. And Scholesy and Gerrard are just, yeah, for me, look, Scholesy wasn't great for England either. But I think if I had to pick two midfielders that were going to hold my midfield, it's got to be Gerrard and Scholesy. I think you imagine a midfield two with those two in it, especially in their prime, it'd just be unbelievable.
God.
And then strikers, it's a bit of a difficult one. It was between three players. I've gone with Wayne Rooney, obviously all-time England top goal scorer. Can't really see past that. With 53 goals in his 13-year stint as an England player, and I've gone with Gary Lineker. And I've gone with Gary Lineker as a second one for one reason and one reason only, and that's he scored 48 goals in 7 years for England. Now, Rooney only scored 5 more in 6 years more. So in terms of goal scoring, Gary Lineker was the one. He scored, 48 goals in 7 years, especially when you consider international football and the limited amount of games that you get. That's a phenomenal record, and he was part of a fantastic England side just before the millennium started. So look, fantastic team there. I think 4-4-2, can't really go wrong with a 4-4-2 in terms of England, and I'll be interested to see who you've got compared to mine, because for me, that England team is winning the World Cup any day.
Yeah, no, there's some big names in there, some names that I've definitely got as well. But yeah, no, that's a good team. Few interesting picks, but you've backed them up, so I can't really say too much wrong from that. So I'm going to go through my team now. In goal, I don't have Peter Shilton. I have Gordon Banks in goal. World Cup winning goalkeeper, possibly, like you said, the greatest save, to have ever been seen from Pele as well. So yeah, Gordon Banks is in my team. Just what a keeper. But I don't think you can go too wrong with Shilton or Banks. But for me, Banks edges it. 4 at the back, you'll be pleased to know, no 3 at the back in this system. Right back is the same as you. It's Gary Neville. Centre back and captain in the team should be, and I think is now, Sir Bobby Moore. The other centre back is a toss up between 2. I'm not going to lie, and it's not Rio Ferdinand. He was not in the conversation for this one. He was thought about, but not in this conversation. It's between Terry Butcher and Jack Charlton, and I think I'm going to go with Terry Butcher, just for the fact of being a pure warrior and that headband, the blood and everything. It's definitely someone you want in the heart of your defence. So Terry Butcher goes alongside Bobby Moore. Left back is not Ashley Cole. I thought about him, but it's not Ashley Cole. It is Psycho, and it's Stuart Pearce. I just think he was an immense player. I mean, if you want the definition of passion, but then backing it up in your technical ability, I think he's the one. And he finally learnt how to score a penalty, which is incredible. And I think that whole Euros was fantastic, not only for him but for England as well. And unfortunately, we come so close. My midfield, I've got it set up here as a diamond, and I know they probably wouldn't play that maybe in years gone by, but you could possibly play it how you did, as a 4-4-2. But I've gone with a CDM. Yeah, again, it was between 2. It was between Paul Scholes and obviously Nobby Stiles, who sadly just passed away. But I'm going to go with Paul Scholes as a CDM. I think Nobby Stiles, yet again, World Cup winner, and was fantastic at his role. I think there's a story where Sir Alf Ramsey took him and one of the other players, I can't remember who it was, took him to a park, and they saw an owner throw a twig, and the dog went and got the twig and brought the twig back. And he said, "That's what I want you to do. I want you to go and get the ball, bring it back, and give it to the good players that are going to go and win me the game." So that's a good little story there on Nobby Stiles. But Paul Scholes is the CDM. The 2 centre mids ahead of him, David Beckham. Do we need to say much more about him? And then one you didn't mention, Sir Bobby Charlton. Sir Bobby Charlton at centre mid. World Cup winner. He was England's leading goal scorer. If we're looking at Man United as well, he won the Ballon d'Or, I think, once or twice. Obviously had the Munich disaster, come back and captained Man United to win sort of the European Cup as it was known then. But for England, he had the leading goal scoring record till a certain person broke it. And then the attacking midfield is Gava. I mean, what a player he is. And I think just for the dentist chair celebration, he's got to go in, surely, hasn't he? And then 2 strikers. It's not Shearer, and it's not Lineker. Lineker comes close, but not that he doesn't get in. It's Wayne Rooney, the all-time leading goal scorer for England, and Sir Geoff Hurst, the only player in the world and in history to have scored a hat-trick in a World Cup final. And that is my all-time England 11.
I think your all-time England 11. I think a lot of it is I think United based. I think is a fair analogy of that one. But no, look, fully justifiable reasons.
Only 5. Only 5.
For your picks.
Only 5. I could have done 11.
A brilliant England side. Again, put in the comments down below whose all-time England 11 is better, what amendments you'd make, and what changes you would make to each side. So, to finish off today, the Premier League thankfully returns on Saturday. So, like last week, we're going to speak about each game. However, we're previewing, not reviewing.
Yeah.
So, we start at St James's Park. Newcastle of in Tyneside against Chelsea, 13th versus 5th. What are your thoughts ahead of this one, Braden?
I think, who knows, Chelsea are on fire, or was on fire before the international break. Newcastle, you never know, beat Chelsea last season at home. You never know which Newcastle team's going to turn up. It could be one which, causes an upset, or it could be the team that played against United and, didn't really offer much and kind of, not got battered because the scoreline said 4-1, but I don't think they deserve much out of the game. So you don't know which Newcastle team's going to turn up, but I'd back Chelsea to win this. I think if I had to put a score prediction on it, I'd possibly go maybe a 2-1, 3-1 Chelsea result for that one. I think, Newcastle, it's all about St. Maximin going forward. Can he supply Wilson? If that gets cut off, then they're in a bit of trouble. I definitely see a Chelsea win here.
I think Chelsea have definitely assured their defensive problems. I think Thiago Silva looks to be a fantastic signing for them. Reece James and Ben Chilwell doing so well for them as well. I just can't see anything past a comfortable routine Chelsea win here. No defeat in 5 for Chelsea, 3 wins and 2 draws in their last 5. Newcastle are coming into this though with sort of decent form, 7 points in 5, 2 wins, a draw and 2 defeats. But I just can't see anything past a win here for Chelsea. That Southampton Newcastle game, their last game, was a horrendous performance from Newcastle. They just look clueless going forward, and Southampton shot off the link that you mentioned in St. Maximin and Wilson. And look, Newcastle had absolutely nothing other than that. So for me, it's a 3-0 win for Chelsea here. I think it's going to be a really comfortable afternoon for them. Newcastle, I think the only hope they've got is that Chelsea will come and take the game to them, and Newcastle could potentially counter. But look, for me, it's a Chelsea 3-0 win written all over this, and I expect Werner to maybe get a few as well.
Yeah, and I guess we should move on to your boys, the Clout and Blue Army. Aston Villa at home to Brighton, 3 o'clock kickoff on Saturday. Your thoughts firstly about that game?
I think it's a game that Villa have to win. Look, Brighton, as much as they've been doing bad this season, they are a team that like to have the ball and they like to take games to team. And I think this is going to work in Villa's favour. I think they're going to take the game to us and get picked off. You saw what Villa have done to Arsenal and Liverpool and teams that have took the game to us. We've battered them. So for me, look, Villa need to get a win at home. 2 disappointing home defeats in our last 2 against Southampton and Leeds. But I think we'll bounce back at Villa Park in this game. Look, if Villa want to make top 10 this season, Brighton at home is 3 points really. You have to be beating sides like that, and especially when you consider that no wins for Brighton in 5, draw in 3 of them. An interesting stat here as well: Villa average over 2.57 goals per game. Brighton average 1.75 conceding goals. So, look, I think this is going to be a game with goals in it. I think Villa are going to get quite a few, but I do think Brighton will score because it seems like Villa can't really keep a clean sheet at Villa Park. I'm going with a 3-1 win to Villa here. I think Villa will take the lead. I think Brighton will probably peg us back, and I think we'll get the job done. Ollie Watkins to get a hat-trick as well.
Yeah, no, I think I definitely back Villa on this one. I mean, you're currently 6th in the table. Brighton, I think, are 15th, 16th. So, look, I think it's your game to lose. And like you said, if you want to really push on and see where you can finish this season, you have to win games like this. It's all right beating Arsenal 1 week, but you got to beat Brighton the week after. So, definitely a game you've got to win. And I'd probably say I'd go maybe a 2-1 Villa, 3-1 Villa. I think Brighton could score because they do play some really good football and look dangerous at times, but I still think you'll come out on top. And then we'll move on to the first of the evening games. the big sort of game of the weekend, I'd probably say. And that is, of course, Tottenham against Man City. And in my opinion, I could honestly see this being another draw. I could see this being a draw. I think if we're looking at how City played against Liverpool, the second half they had in that game as well, so it could play out similar to that. I think this is two really good teams going at each other. Tottenham flying a bit higher than City in the table. Tottenham second, City 10th. But I just think, can Mourinho get one over Pep? It's that great rivalry happening again in the Premier League. So yeah, I think I'd possibly go with maybe a 2-2 draw. I'd like to see a lot of goals in this game, a lot of attacking display. Possibly something we missed from the City Liverpool game, but I'll go for a 2-2 draw on that one. As much as I don't want City to win, I'll go with a 2-2 draw.
It's quite interesting that, because I've actually gone for a 1-1 draw myself. I can't really see anything in this game other than a draw. I think both sides are going to cancel each other out. Look, I think Tottenham have done fantastically well this season, and I think if they could easily go on and win this game, coming into this game, that they're on form. But City as well are on form. City haven't lost in their last 5. I feel like it's the draws that are letting City down at the moment. But for me, I think City have lost it going forwards. They're not as fluent going forward. And in that Liverpool game, apart from, I think in the second half, they offered really nothing going forward, and they just don't look as free-flowing anymore. I think Pep's lost the fluency of the attacking players. Whereas if you cast your mind over to Tottenham, they're completely different. They've seemed to have got a fluency with their attacking football. So I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. I think I can't really see anything past a draw for this game.
No, definitely. I'll let you intro the next one so I can have my say on it.
So, Manchester United 14th against West Bromwich Albion of 18th. I'm going to say my thoughts first before I come on to you, Braden. Look, I think this is going to be a tricky game for Man United. I think it's a game that United are going to think that they're just going to walk. And I don't think West Brom are a side to be underestimated. I think everyone saw, how well they played against Spurs for 88 minutes until Sam Johnston decided that he wanted to give Tottenham the win. They were 3-0 up against Chelsea at half-time. I think Man United need to take West Bromwich Albion seriously here. As much as I don't like West Brom, obviously being from the Midlands and having that rivalry, I think this is a game that United are going to struggle in, I'm going to be honest, because I think West Brom are going to put 11 players behind the ball and just go on then, beat us. United seem to struggle against sides that park the bus and just sit. I do think United will pull through, but I definitely think it's not going to be as easy as some United fans seem to think on Twitter. I think United will struggle in this game because players like Bruno Fernandes need to turn up. You need a creative spark in a game like this because West Brom are not going to try and go out and attack you. They're going to come for a point or try and nick a result because they're going to look at people like Palace and Spurs and the way they played against Man United, and they're going to think, well, if they can sit back and pick them off on the counter attack, so can we. It's just whether or not West Brom have got the quality to do what Palace do. Palace have obviously got a player like Wolves Zaha, whereas West Brom have got Callum Robinson. So, there's obviously a bit of a difference in quality. I think Albion just lack quality in general. But for me, I'm going with a 2-0 Man United win. I think once the first goal goes in, I think it'll be a routine win for Man United from there. But definitely a tougher game for Man United than expected.
Yeah, no, I do agree. I don't think we are taking them lightly despite the league position because, all we need to do is look at our league position. I mean, it's not exactly fantastic. So, I think we do struggle when teams put players behind the ball and we have to try and break them down. That's where we struggle. But, in terms of this game, Ollie has to win it. He has to win it. If he doesn't, and the team play poorly, the pressure's just on him again. You know, he's coming off a fantastic performance and a fantastic 3 points against Everton. And he's got to channel that into this game. He's got Rashford, who's obviously going to be fully fit now. Obviously not playing. He didn't play for England because he picked up a knock, I think, against Everton. Unfortunately, Luke Shaw's injured, but we've had the good news that Alex Telles is negative for Corona again, which means he will play against Uruguay for Brazil, or at least travel, and then he'll come back and play for us. So he'll definitely start things. We don't have another left back. So I expect us to win this game. He has to win this game again. He's got to keep winning games now. So I'll go with possibly a 3-1, maybe Man United win. I think, like I said, 1-1 goes in. I think, you know, the floodgates could open. But like I said, with United, it's always about getting that first goal. And you know, if we come back next week and we're reviewing the fixtures and we see that United have dropped points, it wouldn't surprise me. But I'm still fully confident we can win this game. And you know, it's West Brom. We can see what they've been like defensively as well. They're not exactly fantastic, but I think the quality of United, you know, I think we could definitely go there and, you know, get a resounding victory, hopefully. And then we'll move on into the Sunday fixtures. We've got Fulham and Everton, 12 o'clock. So I'm just going to quickly point out, I think Everton will probably win that. I think they've got to bounce back somewhere. They've lost their last 3 now, including losing to United, Newcastle. So I think they've got to win that. And the Fulham game seems like an ideal opportunity for them to bounce back against a team, you know, what are they, 17th in the table, you know, a bit hot and cold with performances. So yeah, no, I'd definitely back Everton. I'd say maybe 2-0, maybe 2-1 if Fulham can nick a goal. But yeah, no, I'll go 2-0 Everton.
I've gone with 2-0 Everton as well. Yeah, I think Everton, look, I think this is the game that Everton are going to bounce back. 3 defeats in a row. Fulham, 3 defeats in 5 as well. However, their last 2 performances, as I think I mentioned on the last pod, have been really encouraging. But I do think Everton are going to have enough quality. I think this is the game where we'll see James, Allen, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, you know, run the show, and hopefully as well Richarlison can get back into the mix, you know, and get some goals on the board, especially for some people's fantasy teams. Not going to mention any in particular apart from mine. But yeah, I think Everton have got to win this game. You know, you're looking at, again, like Villa, you're looking at a side that are trying to make a statement this year. Fulham away. If Villa can go there and win, Everton are more than capable of going there and getting a result. And Fulham seem to have a bit of a leaky defence at home. They don't really seem to play that well at home. So yeah, but they did win their last game at home. They did beat West Brom 2-0. So they will have a little bit of confidence going into this game, especially they'll want to have a point to prove after a really disappointing loss to West Ham and the manner of which they lost. But yeah, for me, I can't really see, again, anything other than an Everton win here.
No, definitely. And after that, we've got Sheffield United at home to West Ham at 2. Sheffield United need to start picking up points. And is this the game where they start picking up points? Because like we've seen with West Ham this season, their performances, you know, there's some good, there's some bad, and Sheffield United need to start getting points and winning soon. But if I had to look at it now, I'd go for West Ham win. But I think Sheffield United, they might cause a little bit of an upset in this game because, like I said, I think they're bottom of the table. They need to start getting points. So if they come away with a scruffy 1-0 win, that would be Sheffield United, wouldn't it? So I'll go with West Ham, but in the back of my mind, I've almost tempted to say that Sheffield United could do something in this game.
Sheffield United are very lucky that a lot of sides have not picked up points this year. I think they're very, very lucky that there are quite a few sides in the league this year that have just not performed. And the fact that Sheffield United, if they win a game, climb up the table, I think to like 15th or 16th, it's just mental, really. I mean, they have been so poor this season, though. I've got a stat here. They average 0.5 goals per game in the league. They just don't score enough goals, and when they spend 30 million on Oli McBurney, they've just spent nearly 30 million on Ryan Brewster. You know, what is happening at Sheffield United in terms of recruitment? Because I know it's quite harsh to say because last year they did so well, but you look at this season and they just look miles off it. They look a side shot of confidence, void of ideas. It has to be said. The Chelsea game, they were just so poor. Maybe the international break will have done them a favour and sort of given a little bit of a break that they needed. But for me, I can't see anything again other than a West Ham win here. West Ham have been phenomenal since. I can't remember what game it was that they lost, but where they were ridiculously poor. It was the Tottenham West Ham game, the 3-3.
Yeah.
From the moment that they scored that first goal, they've been exceptional since then, and I've been really impressed with their performances. I think Ben Rama was a cracking signing. I'd have loved him at Villa. But as I said, we were never going to sign two players from Brentford in the same window. Jared Bowen, fantastic player. I think Antonio's back as well, or he might be a week away from fitness. But even then, they've still got goals all around the team. I really rate Thomas Soucek. I think he's a great player. And he's got an end product as well, popped up with the winner against Fulham. I just think West Ham have got too much quality, in my opinion, for Sheffield United. And I think the confidence of Sheffield United is like that. And you have to worry for them that this win's got to come from somewhere. And, they've had more than enough opportunities against sides that they beat last year to get points on the board, and they just haven't yet. So they need to score more goals. And, they need to start replicating what they did last season, because it's going to come to a point where there will be a gap and it will start to slowly edge away from them. And before they know it, they could end up being part of a second season syndrome and going straight back down to the Championship after a really successful year last year.
Yeah, no, definitely. Then we move on to two tasty fixtures on the Sunday sort of afternoon and evening. We've got Leeds Arsenal, and then at 6:30, and then we've got Liverpool Leicester. We'll start with Leeds and Arsenal. It's such a tough one here. I mean, you'd have to think Arsenal need to win this game after the result against obviously Hughes lot, but Leeds as well, they're not a team to take lightly, definitely. And I know we've stated previously, I think in the last podcast, that they're a little bit overhyped, this Leeds club, Leeds team. But they're still a good team, and they can hurt teams. You've seen that against Liverpool, and you've seen that against Man City as well, who are better than Arsenal. So this one could go either way, in my opinion. I think if I had to put a scoreline on it, possibly a score draw, maybe 1-1, 2-2. If I had to pick a team to win it, I'd probably go with Leeds, to be fair. Maybe a 2-1 Leeds. I think if Arsenal lose this game, though, the pressure is really on Arteta, really on him.
That is a big call to put Leeds down for a dub on this game. I mean, look, I think Leeds are. I think they're slightly slipping. I think they've had a good start to the season. Don't get me wrong, but they're 15th in the table. I don't think people realise that they've lost their last two games and conceded 8 goals. And again, it's that people keep falling into this trap of overhyping them. They've conceded 8 goals in their last 2 games. If anyone else had conceded 8 goals in their last 2, we'd be turning around and going, they've been really poor the last 2 games, and going into this they have no form. So I don't think I'm going to treat Leeds United any differently to anyone else here, and I'm going to put on record, I think they're going to lose this game. I think, look, Calvin Phillips is a big miss. I think Leeds without him is similar to Leeds without Jack Grealish. I think they don't play well. They were really poor against Leicester, really poor against Crystal Palace for me. And, some people might say that I have an agenda against Leeds. Definitely not. But I just don't I just don't think they're going to win this game. I think Leeds are going to take the game to Arsenal. They play quite expansive football at home, and I think Arsenal. Look, I think the penny's going to drop at some point with Arteta. I still believe that he's the right man to turn Arsenal around. I think I said it last week as well. They just need to play the right system and they need to play the right players in it. And Mikel Arteta seems to do really well away from home. It's at home that Arsenal struggle. You know, their last away performance was a really good 1-0 win against Man United in a game that they dominated. A big miss for Arsenal, though, is Thomas Partey. I think he would have been massive in a game like this. You know, Leeds are quite a stern and brutal opposition. A little bit of a rough opposition as well. But no, I think Arsenal are going to win this game 3-1. Both have got 3 defeats in 5, though, and it could go either way. I really wouldn't be surprised if this was quite an entertaining draw, to be honest. But I'm backing Arsenal to win, and I think Aubameyang will get a season up and running.
The thing with this fixture as well is, you know, Arsenal are only 2 points ahead of Leeds in this game. They've only got 2 better goal difference, so it's very even on paper. And like I said, if Leeds win this game, they go a point ahead of them. They're very similar teams here, so I think it could be a draw. But I would go Leeds just to edge it. I'd go Leeds just to edge it because Arsenal just doesn't seem to be clicking at the minute. But we'll go into the evening game on Sunday. And that is Liverpool against Leicester at 7:15. Where do we start with Liverpool and their injuries? I mean, I've seen a tweet today. I mean, obviously everyone is talking about Liverpool's injuries. Someone said, I think it was a Tottenham fan, he said, well, we had this last season and no one really made a big deal out of it. You know, they lost, Kane, Son, Ali, numerous players, and no one made a big deal. And now Liverpool are losing them all as this big hoo-ha, but hey, we'll leave that there. But Liverpool and their injuries, it's going to be interesting to see what team they field. I mean, you don't know what to go off of to predict this game. I think they haven't got a defence, have they? I mean, all their defence is injured apart from Alisson. They've got no Thiago, no Henderson. They've got, I think they've still got the front 4 of Salah, Firmino. Oh no, Salah's got COVID, hasn't he? Salah's got COVID.
Salah's been tested positive for coronavirus.
Jeez, they are this. I don't even know what to say for this Liverpool game because I don't know what team they're going to put out. So, you know, as much as they are where they are in the table, they're third. Leicester are top and they're no mug. So I'm going to have to say a Leicester win. And that really makes me happy because, you know, I don't mind seeing Liverpool lose the odd game or a lot of games. But I can't have to back Leicester on this one because I just don't know what team they're going to put out and if it's going to be up to scratch to an informed Leicester team here.
I think everything is set up for Liverpool to lose this game, and I think they're going to win it. I think Liverpool are the type of team that it doesn't matter who they put into that system, Klopp will get them working. And you know, Leicester are a really good side, and they've been doing really well this season, but. For me, Anfield is just an absolute fortress. I just can't see Liverpool losing there. I think it's a mad stat, but they haven't lost in over 2.5 years there. And I just can't see them losing this game. You know, I think if there is a chance of Leicester winning this game, though, it's definitely now. I think they've got the best chance that they're probably ever going to have. Against Liverpool, but it's third versus first, and Liverpool are unbeaten in 5 league meetings against Leicester, winning 4 and drawing 1 of them. So, look, they usually tend to play well against Leicester. I know there was controversy last season or the season before about the Liverpool-Leicester game. I remember the penalty against Mark Brighton that won Liverpool the game, I think, in the 90th minute. I can't remember if that was last season or the season before. But
last season.
I think Liverpool are going to win this game. I do think they're going to win it. I think Jota's going to get a goal because he's just banging form right now. And I think this would be a game that Roberto Firmino needs to step up now. With Salah away and a lot of players out, Firmino needs to get his season up and running because the pressure's mounting now. Jota's knocking on the door for that starting position, and I feel as though if Firmino carries on going the way he is, he's going to find himself on the bench in that Liverpool side. And it's mad saying that, you know, a year ago when everyone was saying that Firmino was the focal point of the formation and vocal point of the team. But yeah, if we're talking about this game, I think Liverpool are going to come through. I think it'd be a really good game, but I think Klopp knows how to win a game like this with players that injured. Liverpool have done it before, and I think they'll come through. I think they'll win 2-1.
Yeah, I mean, Firmino could probably do a job at centre half. He's that good defensively for a striker. So yeah, we'll move on to the Monday games. Just the two. Burnley versus Crystal Palace, and we've got Wolves Southampton. We'll quickly rattle through these two. So Burnley Crystal Palace. I'm going to go Crystal Palace win. They've been fantastic, especially against Leeds, where they beat 4-1. They were excellent. Eze had a fantastic game. Zaha, I think, scored as well. So yeah, I'll back Palace to win that. I'm going to go 2-0 Palace. But it wouldn't surprise me if Burnley scored because we all know how Burnley play. So, but I'm going to go 2-0 Palace for that one. Nice and easy. Palace will win that.
I've gone with a nice and easy Palace win. Not in terms of scoreline though. I've gone with a 1-0 Palace win. I think it's going to be a really tight game. Obviously, we all know what Burnley like to do, and I think they were really good against Tottenham and very unlucky to lose that game before the international break. But a worrying stat for Burnley is that they averaged the least amount of goals in the league with 0.43.
Yeah,
that is just dreadful. Sean Dyche has not been backed in the summer. It's a real shame, and I could really see him walking out the door very soon. You know, it's troubling times at Burnley. You know, they've overperformed, in my opinion, for so many years now, and Sean Dyche has done a remarkable job to keep that team in the Premier League and get them the results that he has over the years. But for me, it's a Crystal Palace win here. I think Palace always seem to start the root season well, and Palace always seem to get enough points to stay up, and then they drop off. And I think when you got players like Zaha playing, and for me, Palace have just got a little bit more quality and they're playing better football at the moment. Burnley just can't seem to get a win to save their lives, and I don't think it's going to come in this game either. So I've gone with a 1-0 Crystal Palace win.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with that. I think Palace will win as well. And then the final game of the game week, we've got Southampton and Wolves, which on paper doesn't seem like an enthralling game, but it's 4th against 9th. And the 4th place team is actually Southampton. So, Johnny Vick, if you're watching, up to Southampton. But I think this game I think this could be an entertaining game. This could go either way. Southampton are like flying at the minute. 4+ goal difference, 3 points ahead of Wolves at the minute. Wolves on a -1 goal difference. It could go either way. It really could, this game. Southampton in great form. I think they're missing Danny Ings, though, still through injury, which is a bit of a blow for them, but they seem to deal all right with him in their previous game. Wolves are, a bit hit and miss with results. They've obviously got a win against Leeds. They pull off some great results, and then they get draws and stuff. So I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw in this game. I think two quality teams here. I don't think they'll cancel each other out, but I just think that, at some point, maybe Wolves may not want to lose the game or something, and, just so they don't fall a little bit further down, and Southampton may want to, really push on and see how high they can get on the table. So I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw, but this could be a really, really interesting game. The last game of the weekend, and it's one I'm definitely going to be watching because it just looks incredible lineup for this.
For me, Wolves and Southampton, and I mean, I don't really want anyone to hold me to this, but I actually think this is probably going to be the best game of the game week. Wolves and Southampton are both on absolutely top form. I think Wolves have only got one loss in 5, and Southampton haven't lost in 5. Southampton are the form team in the Premier League right now, and I think this is going to be a cracking game of football. Even with Danny Ings not in it, Southampton just still look lethal going forward. You know, Che Adams is a brilliant player, and I think he gives them such an attacking outlet. And Southampton, for me, have been one of the teams of the Premier League this season. You know, they've been absolutely fantastic. They blew us away in 60 minutes, you know, being 4-0 up. I mean, I've never really seen a team come to Villa Park like that and dominate us as much as they did, you know, in terms of just the way they played. They play with such a fluency in the 4-4-2. And, you know, I think Man City were the only team really to batter us at home last season, and Southampton pretty much mimicked that, apart from a late fight back from us. So I've been really impressed with Southampton this season. I think they've been phenomenal, and I've actually gone with it. I think Southampton are going to win this game. I think I've gone with it. I didn't want to be boring and go for a draw. It was one or the other. But you know what? I think Southampton are going to be going to the top of the Premier League, and I think they're going to win this game. I think they're going to win it 2-1.
Wow, that is a statement. I'll be the boring one and go for a draw, but no, that is some game, and that obviously wraps up the reviews for game week 9. Just to finish on before we do wrap up, I haven't worn this shirt all episode for no reason. Obviously, last night, live on Sky was the Dockyard Derby, Plymouth against Portsmouth in League One. The score ended 2-2. We did both watch it. Obviously, me having a huge interest in it, and Morgan being from Devon as well had a little bit of an interest in it as well. But in terms of the game, Morgan, what did you think? I don't think you've watched too much League One football, so what was your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'm not an avid League One viewer. Villa have never been in it in my lifetime, so I haven't had to watch it. But I think it was a good advert for the league. To be fair, I think it was a good game of football. 4 goals. Plymouth obviously took the lead midway through the first half. Capitulated for 3 minutes in the second half and nearly threw it all away. But then did really well to get back into the game. Probably should have went on and won the game, but you know, Portsmouth have been in really, really good form recently, and I think you know it's a good point for Plymouth coming back from 2-1 down against the side that are in form. So yeah, it was a good game of football to watch. I think both teams have some decent players. That I think that one Sky review or Sky performance is probably going to put them in the market for every single championship club now. So don't be surprised if Plymouth and Portsmouth have any players poached in the next 6 months. But yeah, being on Sky was a fantastic opportunity for both sides to sort of showcase what players they have this season. Two relatively big clubs in Plymouth and Portsmouth being on Sky, and probably shouldn't really be in League One anyway.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have to agree with you. I thought, you know, obviously I've watched Argyle for many years, and finally we're back in League One after we got relegated a couple of seasons ago. But this time we seem to have a brand of football and a style, and I think that was clear to see last night. I think we deserved to win the game, if I'm being perfectly honest. I think it was a case of, well, it frayed at points. At one point, it was 2 points thrown away, but then obviously it was 1 point gained a little bit because we were obviously 2-1 down. But I think, yeah, like I said, we should have won that game. I think that Hardy chance where, you know, it got blocked right on the line is a pivotal moment. If that goes in, it's 2-0. Who knows what happens in the game? It's a fantastic block on the line. But I thought Portsmouth were really, really poor. I really did. And, you know, I'm not just going to say that because of my rivalry towards them. I've got family in Portsmouth, so I've got to take it a little bit easy when I speak to them. But in terms of that, in terms of the game, I did think they were really poor. I mean, their first goal was obviously a mistake. It's a handball. from Callum Watts, and John Marquis puts it away. And then the second goal, it's just poor defending again. I think it's Forner, doesn't quite clear it, slices it into the edge of the box, and I think it's Tom Naylor, rifles it home. And we were lucky to get back in the game. The keeper for them flapped at another cross. The smallest player on the pitch, Dom Telford, wins the header, and Jeremy Apoku just taps it home. But Portsmouth 6th in the table, win 9th. It's a fantastic start to the season for us. Obviously newly promoted. We've got some good players playing some really good football. It's just a shame we couldn't capitalise on that 3 points. But like I said, I thought for Portsmouth being 6th in the league, I thought they were really poor last night, and they only really played for about 3-4 minutes when they got them 2 goals. Apart from that, I thought it was a lot of one-way traffic in the game, and I think Argyle really gave a good account of themselves, especially in front of the Sky cameras, which is always good to see. And hopefully Argyle can be on Sky again come the end of the season in the playoffs, and hopefully at Wembley as well. That would be fantastic. But no, it was a good game of football to watch. I enjoyed it, and I hope if you tuned in to watch the League One football last night, you did enjoy it, because I don't think it disappointed at all. So as far as I'm aware, I believe that concludes this episode and this podcast. So Morgan, thank you once again for joining me. It's been a pleasure again. We'll do this all over again in just about a week's time, where we'll go over the game week 9 results and any news, I guess, which is happening in the football world. Before we go, please subscribe to the channel. It means a lot. Once again, I don't know what Morgan said earlier. Thank you for the response on the first video. It's been fantastic. Make sure you follow the Twitter account, because that's where we'll be posting lots of football news and lots of updates on the videos, and sort of the topics on the videos. We can get you lot involved in terms of what you want us to talk about. So we'll leave that in the description. Make sure you follow it. So yeah, apart from that, thank you for watching. Morgan, if you want to say your bit at the end, and we'll wrap it up there.
Apart from saying that Jack Grealish is the best player in the world, I haven't. No, it's been fantastic, guys. The response that we've had so far, and yeah, up the Villa. Hopefully, your teams do well this weekend. Hopefully, none of you are Southend fans, and bottom of League 2 right now. Hopefully, you're all your teams. No disrespect to Southend, by the way. I just pointed them out because I saw them on Sky before coming on here. But yeah, look, fantastic responses from all of you guys. And like Braden said, if there are any topics that you want us to cover, then please mention them. Mention the teams that we've spoke about as well in the comments. And yeah, thanks for having me on. And yeah, it's a really good time again. Yeah, so up the Villa, up the United, and up the Argyle. Hopefully we'll be coming back with 3 great results, and we'll all be happy. But until next week, thank you for watching. If you stay to the end, make sure you subscribe, follow the Twitter, do all that stuff, like the video, and we'll see you next time. Peace. See you later, guys.